Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I wanted to show you guys what I've been up to. First, pardon the at home wearing sweats, grungy, no makeup, earrings kind of look. We're just gonna go authentic because I know you all appreciate the authentic look anyway, even though this girl prefers to be dressed up. Anyway, okay, so I wanted to let you in on what I'm doing. As you can see here, kind of out of focus in the backdrop, I've got 3 little watercolor papers. Let's get you a closer look, shall we? Alrighty, so these 3 different pieces of paper. What I've done is I've laid them out. I've taped them down with little painter's tape here. But I did this because I wanted to, I wanted to practice some gradient painting. Aren't my gradients radiant? Ha 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 ha. But 2, I wanted to test out 3 different brands of watercolor paper. So all of these are 140 pound cold press, every single one of these. So let me show you. First up here is a little 6x9 pad of watercolor paper that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. I don't know if anywhere else carries this Master Touch brand, but I know Hobby Lobby's got it. So this is the first one right here. There we go. The second one, this is Canson watercolor. Now I do have a really big pad of the watercolor paper, so I cut it down to size. Sorry to interrupt the video here, but I want to tell you this really important tip. If you don't want to buy a bunch of pads of paper just trying to figure out which one you would like, then check with your local art store, Hobby Lobby for sure, for giant sheets of watercolor paper that you can cut down to size. So I cut this down to 6x8, and then I did the same thing with this one. This is actually the Strathmore watercolor paper. So this is this one. So again, the original pad I had was too big, so I cut it down to a 6x8 size, so that way I can keep them all uniform. Let me show you the materials I was using to do these radiant gradients. First up, I have my number 8 round. I don't want to pull it out too fast because it's got paint water on it. So it's just my number 8 round. It's pretty much a kind of a basic, cheap-ish brand that you can pick up at either Joann's or Michael's or both. And then over here is a little bit of a bigger brush. It is also a round. It is a size 12 or number 12. I used this one to actually wet all the pages. This one, the number 8, I used to paint with. So let me show you the paint here. Here's my little paint palette. Come here, little paint palette. There we go. And all of these are dry, by the way. That's why I'm kind of setting this on here. So I used this little color right here, which is the Prussian blue. Look at that color. That's that one right there. This is also just kind of the cheapish, generic-y brand of watercolor, tube watercolor that you can pick up at either Joann's or Michael's or both or anywhere else that carries it that you prefer. Okay, so again, these are all dry. I wanted to wait until they were dried. I wanted to show you guys the beautiful job I did on making these gradients. I still want to say radiant, but that's because I'm silly girl. But okay, so they're all dry. I did this a little bit ago so I can show you the finished product. But now I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to get another piece of paper set up with the paper, the watercolor paper that I preferred, and I'm going to show you guys how I did this. Okay, so I've got everything set up here. I've got my watercolor palette. I got my paint ready to go. I've got my paper here. I did reuse the painter's tape that I had taped. I had the other pictures taped down with. I am a reduce, reuse, recycle kind of person, so this is definitely something that I advocate for, so I'm going to reuse this again. So the first thing I did was I wet my paper. I'm still trying to figure out my personal preferences here, but I did when I did these with the last 2, I just kind of worked my way down to like a half or 2/3 of the way down with wetting the paper. And then I started painting from there, and you'll see why. I start from the top, work my way down, and not all gradients are like this. You can do a gradient from the bottom of the page up, but from what I understand with gradients, you want to do the wet on wet technique. So once I've got the top 2/3, top half, top 2/3 wet sufficiently wet here, I am going to go ahead and apply watercolor watercolor paint. You want to start with heavy pigments. That'll wind up spreading. You'll see here in a moment as soon as I apply this here. You see how that spreads? Oh, that was really wet. Okay. I soaked that paper pretty good. So you want to start with heavier pigment, start at the top, and side to side strokes evenly, and work your way down the paper, covering both sides evenly. To kind of spread out the pigment, you're going to put more water on your brush, go back to your palette. You guys can't really see, I'm so sorry. You're going to go back to your palette and just add a little bit more water to spread out the pigment, essentially making it lighter. And so you're going to kind of start a little ways up again, work your way down, again working side to side in even strokes, covering both sides. Now here's where I had stopped with the water. So go back and get the brush that you were using to apply water, start applying water again. Sufficiently layered with water. You don't have to have it gobbing on there. If you do feel like you have too much water on your paper, it's good to have a piece of paper towel handy nearby. You can kind of dab your brush off on there and then go back to your paper and move the brush strokes from side to side again. And this is going to sop up a little bit more of the water. So let's go back and finish this gradient here. Again, adding water to your brush. Let's see here. Again, adding water to your brush, it spreads out the pigment. Go back to the paper and just kind of start again with making even side to side strokes. You can kind of spread things out a little bit more. I'm still learning. Someone's probably watching this going, no, don't do that. That's not how you do it. Well, if that's you and you have better techniques than mine, you are welcome to leave it in the comment. I am still learning. This is the Learn With Me, Learn Watercolor With Me video. So I am not a teacher. All right, there we go. So that'll be enough pigment. We'll work our way down the page and let it spread out. So that's done. My gradient is done. This is what I did to get those 3 beautiful sheets of paper. There we go. These to this, and I showed you how I did it. And yeah, again, if you're watching this and you think, I know what to do better than this lady, she is a noob, she has no idea what she's doing, just graciously, kindly, lovingly leave a comment for me. Even make some suggestions. I am still learning. This is the Learn Watercolor With Me YouTube channel for now until I evolve and grow and level up my skills. So stay tuned for what I'm going to do with these wonderful watercolor papers of gradient.